Good morning. It's Thursday, August 8th, about 6 a.m. Central Time. Overnight, the precious metals are slightly higher after yesterday's mixed session. You have December gold at 24.50. 24.50 to 54, kind of the pivot zone. And we could start to push our way back up to a breakout level, and we need to close over 24.82. September silver up 15 cents, 27.09. Bounced off the 200-day moving average in the overnight session and at the tail end of yesterday's session as well. We identified that as a key level here where we find value in the contract. Copper futures seemingly capitulated in the overnight session. And if you look at other markets here, crude oil futures unchanged, Bitcoin up about $2,700, Dow index slightly lower, and U.S. equities are flat. So markets started the day yesterday very strong and ended the day in the red. It was a highly emotional trading session. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed down about 0.5%. The S&P 500 about 0.8 of a basis point. Nasdaq ended the day down about 1%. Gold futures spent much of the day in positive territory, and silver futures, they took clues from the copper market and prices seemingly folded into the close. So if you look at the disconnect between silver and gold, about 90.5 to 1 on the gold silver ratio. Yesterday it was about 89.5. It just tells me that silver is too connected to the copper market right now. Copper is weighed in as the industrial metal that it is, and it's seemingly that globally there's a lot of anticipation of a recession, and you'll see copper prices generally sell off on that type of news, and the connectivity to that silver market is really weighing in. So stock futures are pointing just about a mixed session here. Traders are going to wait for that initial claims data. 241,000 jobs expected. Last week, 249,000 jobs. Again, it's so emotional that when you see these economic data releases, it's tough to tell which way the market is really looking for. If you get things like higher numbers now, they're gonna blame the Fed and say that they're late to the party, they should have cut rates already. If you get those numbers a little bit lower here, you're gonna get, hey, maybe the Fed was right, and you'll see a snapback in yields, and that'll actually end up probably boosting U.S. equity markets. So JP Morgan did put out a nice research piece saying that they expect the chance of a recession this year about 35%. Coming into the month, it was 25%. They're saying that they just think that the labor market is going to deteriorate quite faster than expected. So looking at things, the JP Morgan is also expecting a 0.5% cut at that September meeting, and then also another 50 basis point cut at the following meeting. So getting into the CME's Fed Watch tool, 70% chance that the Fed will cut rates 50 basis points, 30% chance only a 25 basis point cut. We're going to see some other things come out here today, like inventory data, and then also we have a 30-year bond auction, and one FOMC member is going to speak. So getting in the markets here, a couple things to look at here is when you start talking about emotions in the market, you want to look at the volatility index. The volatility index really spiked on July 24th. If you look at that, that's the first break on the U.S. equity markets. Since then, it consolidated, and we've seen a surge since Friday, Sunday, Monday. Big spike ups in the volatility index. And if you look at the S&P 500, bounced off that 200-day moving average. So that could also be a very an interesting area for looking at extending to the long side on the U.S. equity markets. Getting into the gold market, bounced off that 50-day moving average, 24.22. If you look at that, I've said that that's another area of interest and a critical level of support. Below that, it's psychological, 2,400 down to 23.98. And then on the silver market, I've been saying that the 200-day moving average, again, another area of value on the silver market where we had bounced in the overnight session. It does have a lot of areas that it's got to work through. $28, also $29.08, and then we've got to have to push back up. We got to get through $29.85. That's going to be your 50-day moving average and your trend reversal point. So silver's really got to get its act together. It's got to break free from copper, try and be the safe haven asset, the precious metal that it wants to be, and then future prices can really lift from here. Remember, copper is referred to as Dr. Copper, and again, it's a gauge of that global economy. So continue to monitor these markets here. You got any questions? Going to be a day here where, with volatility kind of coming in on the precious metals, we're going to start to look at call spreads again. Things like October, November, December, 50-cent wide spreads going out to a couple different months here. So you got any questions, give me a call, 312-858-7303. Remember, futures option trading does involve risk loss. May not be suitable to all investors. Good luck, good trading.